Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is The Take. We got over Hump Day, and Hump Day was certainly an interesting day. You know, we started off with a speedy move to the up. We were upside. We were downside. We moved around, but that was all with the Dow itself. The NASDAQ, it just powered through the entire day. But when you look at the Dow had a really nice range, about 300 points, actually finished the day up just under 50 points. On the NASDAQ side, it was motoring from the start to the end and was really ripping, and we actually had about a 200-point move to the upside, finished just a little bit below that, about 184 points to the upside, but a very, very solid performance day midweek. We also had crude had a little bit of a move, and it was holding up there near that 102, 103 sort of an area. Natural gas, I've been talking about that more and more. It was up 8.5% yesterday. It pushed very close to that $8 level. We got a lot of moving around in the commodity space today. Get to that in just a second. We also had Bitcoin yesterday. Talked about Bitcoin getting up and over that 24,000 area. It didn't close over 24, but it got up and over 24,000. A long run from where it was not too many trading sessions ago when a lot of folks were looking at maybe getting down into the lower teens. It made that nice, powerful move. 2-year, 10-year, we've been talking about that one. Well, the 10-year did finish right around 3, just above it. And you look over at the 2-year, right around 3.25 or so. So we've continued to be in that range, but also with that moving just slightly, it seems like day after day to the upside. Volatility index, wow, underneath 24. A lot of nervousness that was in the market, sort of kind of getting out of the market. That may have changed just a little bit as well. Big volume day yesterday, over 41 million option contracts trading yesterday. That's getting back to those averages for the year to date as we got into the summer months where we started to see a little bit of that summer feeling and a lot lower volumes. Yesterday, not at all. We had a really, really nice performance day there. We had Tesla earnings after the bell. That was certainly something that everybody was waiting for, along with, hey, what's Elon Musk going to say? It's always a question because it's deservedly a question. He is a guy who's willing to put it out there and oftentimes likes to surprise people, likes to say things that maybe are a little bit controversial. We all know that. He certainly is a guy that's a lot different than the majority of the CEOs out there. But I admire the heck out of that guy, and it seems like he has all kinds of different takes that are different from everybody else. We all know what's been going on with Twitter. That's a great example of that. Their delivery growth has been spectacular, but did see some margins moving to the downside, even a little bit more than maybe expected. And that was something that a lot of people were focused on. A lot of people were also focused on the selling of some of their crypto, Bitcoin and so forth. So that was something that was in focus. But you look at it today, and it seems like people are not nearly as worried as they were when they were talking about it last night. That was something that seemed to change in a hurry. The stock had to pop up, then it moved to the downside. Today, it's been a very sharp move to the upside, at least early on, because we are turning and things are changing as we've gotten into this first hour of trade. Consumer discretionary, that was strong early and actually doubled up and got even a little bit stronger, up about 1.75% yesterday, helped by a couple of those names out there that we all know. We also had healthcare down a little bit, down about 1% or so. We had energy up about 1% yesterday. And then technology did double up from the early part of the session all the way into the close. And that's why that NASDAQ did look the way that it did. There were some negatives. There's no doubt yesterday. Baker Hughes, certainly, that was a really tough earnings report. A lot of people certainly didn't like what they heard. That stock was getting sold right out of the gate yesterday, all the way to the close. You also had some of the healthcare space. I talked about that being down about 1%. Merck was hit a little bit. Biogen, you throw in United Health, AstraZeneca. Those are the names kind of pulling on the health sector. But Netflix, the cruise lines, you look at Royal Caribbean, you look at Carnival Cruise, all getting a little bit of a push to the upside. The NASDAQ had a really, really nice day yesterday as well. We had Zoom, we had NVIDIA, we had Salesforce, we had Apple, we had Microsoft, we had Amazon, we had Meta, all of those really contributing, and that's why we had such a powerful move out of the NASDAQ yesterday. Dow started off very, very quiet today. We are in earnings season. People are kind of going through and trying to digest all these different numbers from the night before and in the pre-market and maybe what's to come in the after hours tonight. With that being said, the NASDAQ looked very strong early. It was up about 50, 55 points, something like that. But then the Indu was not terrible. You look at the Dow, it was down in negative territory. Then early in the opening, down about 180, 190 points, then started to recover a little bit. Next thing you know, as we got a little closer to us going on here in this first hour, we were down 250, then we were down 300 points. It definitely was moving rapidly to the downside, and obviously we'll keep on monitoring that. We are in the first hour. We always want to stress that because we don't want to go overboard in terms of some of these moves. We know how fast this market can move. It's been positive on the NASDAQ. It's been negative. It's been kind of playing within a range of, call it 50 points up, 50 points down. Not hugely significant, but something we're definitely keeping an eye on. Last I looked, it was in negative territory by about 30 or 40 points to the downside. The story so far of the day, I would think, would have to be really crude. I know we all focus on the earnings, but with crude back underneath 100, back towards 96, that's a pretty big, monstrous move. We also have nat gas down a couple of percent. So that was something after that big run yesterday. You kind of expect a little bit of a pull, maybe even expected a bigger pull to the downside, looking at what's going on with crude. We haven't seen that yet. Volatility early was in the 23s. That might start to change as we get a little bit deeper, and we've had that sharp selling just in the last 10 or 15 minutes or so. Volatility index of the NASDAQ, keeping an eye on that one because it continues to hold. Even when things are looking good, it's still holding well above that 30, around 30 and a half to 31 level. The 2-year and the 10-year early on, just exactly where they were last night for the most part. So not really much of a storyline there. Airlines, we got more airlines giving their earnings out. We had United, we had American, well, they were basically in line. United, yeah, they reported a profit for the first time post-pandemic, blah, blah, all that kind of thing. But those names definitely under fire early on. A little bit of pressure selling there. A little bit of pressure also in some of those cruise names as well. Actually, a lot of pressure in Carnival, in Norwegian. Those cruise lines definitely hitting the skids today after having a pretty nice day yesterday. We also did hear today from Microsoft about slowing on hiring, a theme that we have been hearing time and time again. It was Apple, it was Meta, Facebook or Meta, it's Google, all coming out with some of that kind of cautionary feel, it seems, for the markets in terms of slowing down some of the hiring that was planned and all of the rest of that. Certainly something that's affecting the markets. What else is affecting the markets? I mentioned crude at around 96. How about the fact it was down almost 3% early. It's down well over 4% now. The communications sector down a couple of percent as well. Healthcare kind of hanging in there actually today pretty decently. Tech under a little bit of pressure. Financials really were the one that weren't doing much right out of the gate in the early couple of minutes of trade, and then started to slide a little bit. Last I looked, they were down about 0.5% or so. So we're seeing the financials with a little bit of pressure. Danaher, unbelievable earnings. We're seeing a good result there. Early on, it was up about 8% right out of the gate. We also had Nucor. We have Tesla. We have NetEase. We have PDD. We've got Baidu, all moving to the upside. So those Chinese names participating, along with Biogen. Goldman Sachs was very strong early on with that financial starting to pull back a little bit. I think we're going to have to keep an eye on some of those names along with Visa that early were in very strong positive territory. We'll see if that's something that can hold on. Valero, we've got Walgreens under pressure. We got Microsoft. We got Verizon under big pressure. We've got names like IBM. It wasn't just a one-day thing. IBM continues to have a little bit of pressure put on them. I got two unusuals, and I might even have a bonus for you as well today. So we'll start with number one. ChargePoint trading right around $14, just a little bit higher than that. We had a buyer of 30,000 of the July 29th. So you've got tomorrow and then another week. Obviously, the 22nd is tomorrow, so you've got 1 week past that. So you've got a little bit of time, not a whole lot of time. They're buying just out of the money the 15 strike calls. 30,000 of those calls. They were going for about 47 cents. They were getting hedged by selling a higher call against that position as well, just for full information. Rivian number two. I bring this one up because we've had Nikola. We've also had Tesla. We just got the Tesla earnings. And now we've got Rivian trading somewhere close to 33, 34. It's been bouncing around. That's why I have to say that. Bouncing around like crazy early on. 14,000 of tomorrow's expiring, so they're not giving you a whole lot of time. Be aware of that. You've got to understand where the expiration cycles are and if that seems like an ungodly, risky kind of a thing. And certainly when you've only got today and tomorrow, that does come into that category of understanding, hey, you know what? This is short term. This has to happen or it's gone. They were buying the 35 strike calls. They bought 14,000 of those in Rivian, and they were going for 20 cents up to about 50 cents. So the premium level, not too terrible. It needs to make that kind of a move, and it's got to get pushing up and over that 35 level in the next, call it less than 48 hours or so. Next one, I've got a little bonus for you. I'm just giving you this as something that we were seeing just before coming on here. So the market started to push a little bit to the downside. They weren't down 300 points yet. They were starting to slide a little bit near the top of the hour, a little bit past that. But the IWM, the Russell, we've been talking about that one a little bit more and more lately. The other day it had the biggest move of the bigs in terms of those indices that we talk about all the time. It was one of those that really did have a sharp move to the upside. But we are seeing some puts being bought, and they're being rolled down. They're going out to September. We were just talking about a 2-day option. These are September puts that they are buying today. They bought about 70,000 of them. It was part of a roll. They were. I've always liked these trades. Somebody who's rolling down something that might have been profitable, most likely was profitable, from the 170s to 168s. You'll see all that volume there. But that's selling of the 170s and buying the 168s, taking a little bit of a profit probably off of a little bit of that trade. And it's about half of much of the what was the open interest. So just keep all that in mind. If you don't understand what I'm saying, that's fine. It's okay. I'll tell you what, it is a very complicated thing at times. That's why you got to get educated. I bring that up every time I talk about this stuff on the tape. Options are very complicated, but you can make them less complicated with education. Something you can find online. You can do it through books. We've got a great team here that's unbelievable in terms of education, but you're going to want to have that education as well. Folks, have a great day of trading. I'll see you tomorrow.